Well, look, Melburnians have done it tough. There is no doubt that they have done really the heavy lifting to keep the rest of the country safe and to keep those case numbers low. And I hope that they take a look at these case numbers and really feel some reward for the sacrifices they've made. Of course, the Victorian government has to look at its medical advice and work with its medical practitioners. It's got to make sure everything's in place to not see a third wave, because that would have an absolutely devastating impact if coming out of this that Melbourne itself had to shut down again. That would be a terrible outcome. So, look, we would like to, of course, see Melburnians enjoying the freedoms that the rest of us have. And I'd just like to say thank you to them for their sacrifice because they've done this. They've done the hard work of getting this virus under control in their city and in their state. And hopefully, as we move forward, the medical advice will permit them more freedom as they go forward.
Julian, Victorians have consistently backed the approach of Daniel Andrews on COVID-19, particularly given how close we are to October 19. Is it worth staying the course now?
Well, look, my heart goes out to Melburnians in particular, but everybody in Victoria. They have done it terribly tough. This has been one of the most long and prolonged lockdowns of any jurisdiction, even around the world. It's good to see that the Victorian government has started to listen to some new medical evidence and get some kids back to school. I mean, just my heart goes out to these kids who haven't had the social structure, their friends, schooling for the last couple of months. These kids need to get back into school, and you know, we've seen similar numbers in New South Wales where they have a better contact tracing regime, where they've got a better testing regime, and they're operating almost as normal like the rest of the country. So we want to see Victoria move quickly to that, I think.
And today we've got JobKeeper, JobSeeker coming down in payment in the amount people are getting. What should the government do, Julian, if the economy tanks as a result?
Well, I think what we want to see is we want to see us continue to focus on jobs, but transfer from the broader support package of over $300 billion that the federal government has already put into more targeted support for those people in those industries that are particularly doing it tough. Travel agents, people in the aviation industry, hospitality in some areas, and manufacturing. We want to give targeted support to those Australians to keep their businesses going, get back into work, and while we continue to create new jobs right around the country.
So what if it doesn't work, though? As I said, if we see the economy drop off just as the payments do, should the government be flexible?
Well, of course, this is not a set and forget policy thing at all. I think the government's always shown that it's willing to get in there and provide the support that is required. But what we want to see is us operating in a COVID-safe way. We know that we can do that with proper contact tracing, with proper testing. That's what most of the country has been able to achieve up until now. And if we do that, then we can move from the broad blanket support to more targeted support, particularly for those industries that are going to take the longest to get back up and running.
And Amanda, analysis today suggests that even people not getting government supplements in terms of consumer spending, it's back up just a little bit below pre-COVID levels. So you've got to reduce this support at some stage. It doesn't seem like the worst timing, does it?
Well, look, when there's 13 people looking for a job for every one job advertisement, this isn't the right time. Even the government's own figures continue to say there'll be an increase in unemployment. So it is the worst time really to withdraw government support. There is a new test in for JobKeeper, and we know that the reduction in the amount will make some businesses struggle even more and make some workers find it more and more difficult to get along. So the government's own numbers are the ones that are saying that this is the wrong time, that we are heading still further into recession, further unemployment. So it is not a really clever time, and the government has put no broad jobs strategy on the table. There is no jobs plan on the table from the government. So
isn't that all coming out in the budget? I mean, that's a week away.
Well, with withdrawing support on one hand and not having a jobs plan set out, I mean, they've had months to do this now, Tom. You don't need to wait until a budget to have a jobs plan. They knew jobs are a problem. They knew creating new jobs is a problem right now. It has been for some months. There's some jobs that have disappeared altogether and no prospect really for some time of those jobs being recreated. So, you know, to sort of say, oh, wait till the budget, well, look, they should have done this and they could have done this and they need to do this.
Tom,
just finally on borders, South Australia. Okay, we'll have to pick it up another time perhaps. I just wanted to get this final topic though, sorry, Julie, on borders. So South Australia taking the approach now, everyone's allowed in except Victorians. If this works, isn't that evidence that Queensland should do the same? Amanda Rishworth, what do you think?
Oh, well, look, South Australia's made a decision to open the borders to New South Wales and the ACT. WA, Queensland, Tasmania is not making that decision. So every state and territory's got to make the decision based on their own information and own calculation. And I think Stephen Marshall, as Premier, has rejected the Prime Minister's calls in the past. He's now made a decision based on his own advice. And I think all premiers need to be have the responsibility to do that. The Prime Minister does not take responsibility when cases go up, when cases go down. He doesn't even take responsibility for his failed contact tracing app. This is an app that said was our ticket out of here. Julian's mentioned contact tracing a few times. Well, if the app worked, maybe you'd have more people actually be able to contact trace successfully. Instead, you've got somewhere like New South Wales having to have a check-in system. So, look, absolutely, each state should be responsible for doing it themselves.
We're nearly out of time and I wanted to give Julian a go at this. What do you think of your state's approach to this? Because Deb Frecklington, the LNP leader, isn't exactly taking a different path. So whatever you criticise Anastasia Palaszczuk for, does the same apply to what Deb Frecklington's saying she'll do?
Oh. Look, I have a clear preference, Tom. You know, and I think Deb Frecklington's doing and going to do a tremendous job as a future Queensland Premier in just a few weeks. But my view is that this government, the Morrison government, is focused on creating jobs. To do that, we need the borders open as much as possible, as much as the health advice will allow. And it has never been the national health advice to keep borders closed. So I would like to see them open with appropriate contact tracing and testing in place, because this federal government is focused on creating jobs. There's nobody in Labor talking about creating jobs other than Joel Fitzgibbon, and he just gets suppressed by the left of his party. He's got more in common with us than he does with the Labor Party at the moment, because we are focused on creating jobs, whether it's skills reform, whether it's support for the aviation sector, whether it's reducing red tape. That's what the budget in a few weeks' time is going to do.